أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls and the enlightenment of the hearts, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is widely practiced and indeed desired by many believers across the world. It is sought in order to seek guidance from the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It involves a number of different methods and ways for it to be conducted. Istikhara occupies a very important position in the lives of many human beings. Many of the believers seek istikhara in different times throughout their lives. For example, when purchasing a new house or acquiring a new business. For example, when it comes to the area of marriage, or indeed traveling to certain parts of the world. In many facets and areas of one's life, you'll find you and I seeking istikhara. And no doubt, the practice of istikhara extends far and wide. We find many narrations from the Ma'soomeen, peace and blessings be upon them, which highlight the importance of istikhara. Likewise, an examination of the Psalms of Ali Muhammad, Sahifatul Sajjadiyya from the Holy Fourth Imam Zayn al-Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamuh alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Reveals that the Imam alayhi salam has a dua for istikhara. One of the du'as in Sahif al-Sajjadiyya is referred to as du'a'ahu fil istikhara, meaning that the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam indeed placed attention and emphasis upon this particular process. Yet when we look around the world today, what do we find? We find that unfortunately, sometimes the application of istikhara has been misunderstood or misapplied. The month of Ramadan is indeed a glorious month of self-reform and development, both for ourselves and community. Meaning what? Meaning that when we look at the month of Ramadan, it's a glorious opportunity to examine some of our practices and to look at whether we are indeed able to reform it in the way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get closer to Allah and to attain much reward. Let me give you an example. Once the holy beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam saw a man by the name of Hudhayfa, one of the companions. He came towards him and said salam to him and extended his hands towards Hudhayfa. Hudhayfa said salam to the Prophet but did not extend his hands. The Prophet of Islam said to him, Ya Hudhayfa, I extend my hand towards you and you do not. How is this the case? Hudhayfa said, Ya Rasulullah, I would die to shake your hands, but I am in the state of jinabat. I do not wish to shake your hands because I feel it is not appropriate. Look at the response of the Prophet. The Prophet of Islam would say to him, do you not know when two believers shake each other's hands, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes their sins fall just like how the leaves fall from a tree? Meaning that, shake my hand, don't worry about it. For example, how is this applicable? How beautiful it is that when we have an opportunity like this in the month of Ramadan and outside in congregational salah, in Salatul Jama'ah, not only should we be shaking the hands of our brothers, or for the sisters after Salatul Isha when we recite the dua, we should do it after Salatul Maghrib too. In other words, this increases the thawab, isn't it? That we should not wait towards the end of Salatul Asr for us to shake the hand of the brother that is next to us. Why? Because this shaking of the hands has two objectives. Number one, it causes the forgiveness of the sin. Number two, when we shake the hand of our brother next to us, we say taqabbal Allah, we infuse it with a dua that Allah accepts this salah. Imagine that few hundred people in a one particular position, constantly in through two salahs, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness as well as acceptance of the salah. Notice how much reward and thawab that indeed breaks and brings from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, this is an opportunity for us to be inspired from the Holy Quran. I would like to briefly examine the subject of istikhara through being inspired by ayah 186 of the Holy Quran. Why? Because essentially istikhara is what? Is supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, we have a gem of an ayah. No doubt, all the verses of the Almighty are indeed great treasures and inspiration. But verse 186 truly stands out for its excellence as far as the extension of hope and mercy to the human being, isn't it? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. No doubt many of us have come across the idea that the ulama say this ayah is truly unique in the Holy Quran. Why? Because on 7 occasions in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers back to Him, and there is no other verse in the Quran that this is applied. 7 times the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala refers back to Him. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي. This highlights that this is a tremendously wonderful ayah that projects this hope and mercy for the human being, no doubt. Likewise, this ayah is found where? It's found amongst the verses that discuss the laws of siyam and fasting as well as the month of Ramadan. Is this a coincidence? No doubt that it's not. It is deliberately found there. Why? For a number of reasons. The first is the importance of supplication and dua in the month of Ramadan. We find the Holy Prophet of Islam, Rasul Al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the famous sermon on the last Friday of the month of Sha'ban, he says, وَدُعَاؤُكُمْ فِيهِ مُسْتَجَابٌ. That you and I, our dua in this month of Ramadan is certainly answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a very important and close relationship between dua and fasting, isn't it? The month of Ramadan brings encouragement when it comes to supplication. That's why there are so many supplications that have been presented for you and I to utilize this glorious month. Of course, dua al-iftitah, yet more than that, dua Jawshan al-Kabir, dua Jawshan al-Saghir, dua Abu Hamza al-Thumali, which is indeed a mesmerizing dua which helps the individual ascend much levels of spirituality. And much more we find in this holy month. Makarim al-Akhlaq, for example. Number 1. Number 2, another important relationship is that between the dua and Quran. Because there are many supplications in the Quran, and the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Holy Quran was revealed. That's why you find Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Imam al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, famously stating what? Stating, if you and I wish to speak to Allah, then supplicate. If you want Allah to speak to you, then recite the Quran. And that relationship both exists where? In the holy month, this blessed month of forgiveness and mercy. And therefore we find our holy fourth Imam coming forward and saying what in Sahif al-Sajjadiyah? In the dua bidding farewell to the month of Ramadan. Saying, Assalamu alayka ya shahr Allah al-akbar wa ya Eid awliya'ih. Peace be upon you. When he addresses this blessed month, the fourth Imam says, peace be upon you, O the greatest of the months of Allah, and the time of celebration for the close friends of the Almighty. Indeed it is. Then the Imam follows on by saying that you are indeed short period and one that goes very quickly for the mu'mineen, but you are too long for the wretched, for the mujrimeen. Yes. Next time we think about how long the month of Ramadan is, or God forbid we wish for it to end quickly, let's reflect on what the Imam alayhi salam classifies when it comes to the people who objectively look at the holy month of Ramadan. That relationship is therefore what? Is established when it comes to the beautiful month. And no doubt when it comes to this ayah, it projects the powerful mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in this holy month, that He invites you and I to supplicate to Him. And indeed He wants us to supplicate, therefore He would what? Respond to us and reciprocate with His forgiveness, with the fulfillment of our hajat. Yet of course, when it comes to istikhara, many would come forward and say that istikhara is what? A supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Istikhara in Arabic needs to be understood linguistically. This requires slight your attention. I know you're fasting, but it needs your attention in order for us to dispel a few misconceptions regarding istikhara. When in Arabic, the three letters, alif, sin and ta, are placed before any other word, it refers to talab, meaning seeking. For example, istishara, meaning seeking advice. Istirham, meaning seeking mercy. Istikhara is talabul khair, seeking goodness. Yes. Therefore, in Arabic, it refers to an individual wanting the best for themselves. That is how it is understood linguistically. As far as its application in modern day usage is concerned, or part of the description of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam, istikhara is when you and I seek assistance from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, seek some kind of guidance or direction in our lives. Yet of great importance, istikhara is divided into two categories. Please mark these words, very important. The first understanding or level of istikhara is when the human being wants to perform an action, is certain about that action, has no hesitations whatsoever. After wanting and making the decision to indeed perform that action, recites 2 rak'at salat and supplicates to Allah so that their action is blessed by the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is istikhara. And many of the riwayat of the Ahl al-Bayt, when talking about istikhara, refer to this practice. People ask, what dua should we recite after this type of istikhara? Meaning that I wish to buy a house. I'm convinced this is the right house. I recite 2 rak'at salat, then I recite a dua. I found amongst the most authentic duas that is to be recited after this salatul istikhara. There are many du'as that are present out there. Yes, you find them in Mafatih al-Jinan and others. But one that was taught to me by our teachers in Hawza, and I have heard from many of the ulama, is for an individual to recite 2 rakat salah, then to go into sajda and to say 100 times, Astaghfirullah bi rahmatihi khiratan fi afiyah. أستغفر الله برحمته خيرة في عافية. To say this 100 times after salat, 2 rak'at salah, in order to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill that hajah that they have already decided to undertake. whatever decision. And this is indeed one that is highly recommended, meaning that we place tawakkul and submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask for His assistance for our deeds, for our tasks. That's number one. Number two, though, another way in which many people, of course, today, a common method of utilizing istikhara is what? Is when the human being is unsure, is when they are uncertain about what to do. They are at a cross points that they wish to see whether they should do something or not do something. This is one that is what? That is also a method that is validated and authenticated when it comes to istikhara. Question: as far as Sunni and Shia theology or jurisprudence is concerned, do they accept both methods or no? When you look at our brothers, Sunni brothers and sisters, they say the first method is recommended and legalized. Which method? The 2 rak'at salah and some dua after we have decided. But the second one, when you and I are undecided, 50-50, they say this is what is not established. It is permissible to do, but you will not be rewarded or you will not necessarily be directed. Yes, even though there is a famous Sheikh Shaltut, who is a very well-known alim in Al-Azhar in the 60s, who incorporated the Imami Ja'fari theology into the teachings, which was a very commendable thing to do. He himself believes that both parts of istikhara is haram, not permissible. Yet many of the ulama say no, only the first level is permissible. The school of Ahlul Bayt, however, comes forward and states what? And states that indeed both are recommended and both are legitimate, based on many narrations from the Ahlul Bayt, such as one from the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Ma khaba man istakhar. The Prophet of Islam would say to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the one who does istikhara would not be disappointed. Yes. وَمَا نَدَمَ مَنِ اسْتَشَارَ. And whomsoever seeks advice indeed would not be let down. Therefore you'll find that is acceptable. Now, when it comes to the istikhara, the second level, how is it performed? One, there are over 17 methods of istikhara. How many? 17 methods of istikhara. Yet, however, 2 have stood out, in which you see many of the ulama performing. One is through tasbih. In other words, an individual grabs a tasbih randomly, not by looking where they grab it, and they start counting. Yes? If they reach 2 beads at the end, that means what? That means this is not good. It's not recommended to proceed with an action. If they reach 1 bead, they start counting by taking 2 from each side. 2 from each side until what? They reach the final part. If it is 1, that is what? It's good. If it is 2, that means it's not recommended. Likewise, the method of utilizing the Holy Quran is widespread, isn't it? That the Quran is picked up and the Quran is opened on a random page after the whilst an individual is in wudu and recitation of the salawat and a particular dua. Then they look at the first 1 verse or second verse and they see the kind of projection of this verse. If it is about Jannah, if it is about mercy of God, then they say it's good. If it is about Jahannam or punishment or the enemies of God, then they say it is not recommended. And it depends on the experience and the expertise of some scholars or others who could perform this. Because we find a particular scholar by the name of Sheikh Al-Baladhari and many others today who exist in certain parts around the world, they have been gifted special favor from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, where when you ask them for an istikhara, they are able to give you what? A very informed decision back. In other words, they somehow have an understanding of what your situation is, what your instance is. Yes, this Sheikh Al-Baladhari is one of them. May Allah bless his soul, he's passed away. Someone asked him, how did you get this ability? He said, I spent 1 entire year in Mashhad, spending the entire night in the shrine of the holy 8th Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. In reflection and pondering and contemplation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this powerful trait. Likewise, you find instances where truly istikhara has been demonstrated as one that is guidance from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. You and I have come across an individual by the name of Sheikh Al-Ansari, isn't it? May Allah bless his soul. Sheikh Al-Ansari is a great scholar, yes, who died over 150 years ago. He was a yatim and he used to live in Iran. He decided to move to Najaf. When he decided to move to Najaf, his mother was attached to him and said, my son, I wish that you remain here. I don't want you to leave. He did not wish to upset her. He said, what about us taking istikhara in order for her to be convinced? They took an istikhara and the verse that came was from Surah Al-Qasas. Yes, Surah Al-Qasas, verse 36, which is in the story of the mother of Musa. لا تخافي ولا تحزني إنا رادوه إليك. Don't worry, he will return back to you. Immediately, that was something powerful. Then he said to his mother, I want my brother to come with me, to support me in Najaf, in order for him, in his studies, to be supported. She said, this is also a problem. They said, let's take istikhara. Inspired by the first istikhara, they took the second istikhara, and the verse came, سَنَشُدُّ عَضُدُكَ بِأَخِيكَ, that we will support you with your brother. Indeed, that is not something to be taken lightly. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending a very clear message to whom? To this scholar about the importance of him moving. And then he became, of course, a great ayatullah and a leader of the Hawza. Therefore, you find people ask, what is the legitimacy of istikhara? Is it legitimate? Is it established? Yes. We have numerous narrations that point to its recommendation, number one. Number two, the idea that it is siratul mutasharri'ah. Meaning what? Meaning that throughout history we've seen scholars act upon it. And this is a method by which ulama use to verify an action. They say that all these scholars for centuries, they have been able to come forward and discuss istikhara. And the fact that they have performed it means that it is what? It is established. And likewise, they say when it comes to its legitimacy, istikhara is legitimate because it is simply seeking advice from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, is seeking permission from the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that in itself is indeed something which is favorable. Therefore, there is no doubt about its legitimacy. Hence, people ask the question, has it been utilized correctly, or sometimes do we need to re-examine the way you and I have looked at istikhara? And I take your attention for the next 5 minutes when it comes to this particular element. Which instances have people misused istikhara? The first is with regards to acts which are obligatory or haram. Meaning what? Meaning that one of the scholars said, I had a phone call one day. Someone said, Maulana, can you do an istikhara for me? I said to him, sure, I will do it. He said, please, quickly. I said, why the hurry? He said, because, Hajj time is soon, and I wish to decide whether to go to Hajj or not. He said, I asked him, have you been to Hajj before? He said, no, this is my Hajjatul Islam, my wajib Hajj. I said to him, do you have enough wealth? He said, yes. Is there any security issues? He said, no. Do you have any health? He said, no. I said, why are you taking istikhara? Well, I'm not sure if this is the right year for me. If it is wajib, you do not have a choice. It is not for the istikhara to come. It is not the right means of utilizing istikhara. Yes? Or somebody once asked for an istikhara. Why you want an istikhara? I want to see there is a job. What is this job? I am working in a restaurant serving alcohol. This is haram. You're not supposed to take an istikhara for an act which is what? Against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, that is the first area in which istikhara is not applicable and should not be used for. The second is where you and I do an istikhara on behalf of someone, not with their permission. And that is specifically at the time of marriage sometimes, yes? Somebody comes forward to the father and says, or to the mother sometimes, that I wish to propose to your daughter. The father says, one moment. Maulana, mashallah, these days WhatsApp, yes? Straight away, Maulana, istikhara please, yes? 4 a.m, yes? Istikhara please. Why? Well, let me see. Shall I proceed with this or not? Yes. Ayatullah al-Udhma Sistani Hafidhahullah has been asked a question about this. Yes. A group of people asked him, they said that we are a people that our fathers constantly, when we get proposals, they are lady sisters, constantly when we get proposals, they take istikhara and then they come and ask us. If the istikhara is good, they say there is somebody who wants to meet you. Yes. Come and meet them if you like. They seek our permission after the istikhara. What is the ruling? The ruling is quite strong and categorical. The answer is this, that if this continues, then the wilaya, the authority of the father is removed, and no longer does he have authority over his daughter. It's very firm. Meaning what? It is not right for this to happen. Istikhara has a time and a place. Istikhara has a particular usage. Yes, it is not for when individual has come forward and you, for example, you do not know much about them. For example, there is not much doubt about them. Yes, you do not give the individual an opportunity to sit with that person, to find out if they're the right person. Yes, to inquire about that individual. The answer is given that if this continues, then the daughter does not have to listen to the father, does not have to seek his permission for marriage. That's number 2. Number 3 of the incorrect usage of istikhara is when you and I are in a position where we are convinced about something, but we want istikhara to gloss it over. How many times this has happened? Yes. When you and I have decided, or we are tending towards a particular act. Yes. And then we say, well, let us take an istikhara just in case. This is problematic because istikhara, first of all, starts with the usage of the aql. Then moves on to istishara, meaning advice, seeking the advice of others. Then if we are 50-50, then it is recommended to go to istikhara in that particular way. Therefore what? Therefore this is an incorrect way of utilizing istikhara. It is very disappointing that we hear instances, and I can tell you of many, that brothers and sisters have got to know each other with the knowledge of the father in marriage, and everything is okay and everything is fine. They seem to be relatively compatible. Everything seems to, families are happy. Maulana istikhara comes out bad. Khuda hafiz. But everything is good. Maulana did istikhara, came out bad. Number 1, how do you know this individual, this alim is doing the istikhara in the correct way? Or he's interpreting the istikhara in the right manner? Number 2, it's not the right place for istikhara. Yes? And when this happens, and then God forbid a divorce, you get a call, Maulana, you did the istikhara, it was good, what happened? They blame it back on the Maulana, isn't it? The idea that emerges is what? This is not the correct usage. That's the number 3. And number 4, finally, is excessive istikhara. Meaning sometimes people get addicted to istikhara for everything. One of the brothers said, I don't like going out with my father when I'm driving and my father is next to me on the street. I said, why? He said, sometimes I'm driving, all of a sudden he says, turn right. I said, but this is not the right way. He said, just turn right. Then when I turn right, I asked him, that was dangerous. Why? He said, because I took an istikhara as the right turn to go. Sometimes people, for every nitty-gritty, for every small thing, they do istikhara. Ulama say this is not recommended. Yes, this is not should be the thing that we should be using istikhara for. Yes, istikhara has its particular positions, has its particular usages. And you and I must be able to what? Must be able to observe this. Finally, a number of questions that brothers and sisters ask. Can we redo the istikhara? Not normally. In other words, that you and I are recommended to follow the istikhara, although istikhara is not binding. This is very important, that when you and I are 50-50 and we do the right way of istikhara, it is not binding for you and I to follow it. That's number 1. Number 2, can we redo it? Only if the circumstances change and there is a prolonged time in which there is either a maslaha or a mafsada that is somehow incorporated in this. Another question is, what about the best time to do istikhara? Well, it is recommended to do istikhara after salah, which is wajib, or salah, which is mustahab. And the best time to do istikhara in the week, according to the Ahl al-Bayt, is just before Tulu'ul Shams, sunrise on Friday morning. That is the best time to do istikhara. I know I'll regret this because I'll get so many requests for that time. But that is indeed recommended to be performed at that time. And therefore, when we understand this, we have a better idea of approaching this important subject and indeed submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because recommendations come forward and say from the Ahl al-Bayt that the part and parcel of the belief of the individual is tawakkul and submission. That when the human being does ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and indeed does not rely on Him, this is turning away from the Almighty Jalla wa Ala. Finally, the spiritual tip of the day. As we have spoken about dua, we are told one of the most significant and crucial conditions for the acceptance of our dua is for the believer to feel a sense of desperation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what it means when we recite أَمَّا يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Muضطر means when someone supplicates to Allah and truly believes there is no one other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will give them that hajah. That iftirar, that desperation is a state to be in the heart, to ask earnestly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these nights of Ramadan, in the nights of Qadr, to be in that state where we do not believe X, Y, and Z will fulfill my hajah. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says, أَمَّا يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Most of us have memorized this. Allah says, I will respond only if you come to me with the state of iftirar and desperation. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our a'mal and indeed to respond positively to our du'as. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salli lahum ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin.